So we have with us Himanshu Rajpurohit, a prominent name in the world of entrepreneurship, public speaking, and writing. With years of experience in founding and scaling startups, he's earned a reputation of serial entrepreneur, for me to say. Apart from the entrepreneurial journey, he's also an accomplished public speaker, a life skill writer, and focusing on domains of psychology, sociology, and philosophy, particularly. As a four-time founder, Himanshu has been actively involved in creating innovative products, services, and cater to the needs of customers across different industries. His latest venture being Strangify is a startup focusing on emotional well-being, basically a platform that leverages the power of venting out and active listening. So before Strangify, he also founded Bookabuddy, SLSE, and Asathi, which were also successful ventures in their respective domains. What makes this even more interesting is that Himanshu has been able to achieve all this, and he's just reached the age of 70. He's a high school dropout, for me to say, and someone who actually truly imbibes the personality of entrepreneurship and creating value. He has also been a TEDx speaker in and has spoken in various colleges and different forums. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us, Himanshu. I'm sure there'll be a lot of things that we'll be able to take from this entire conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I guess it's my absolute pleasure being part of the call.
Right. Perfect. So, Himanshu, getting into the podcast per se, we want to probably touch upon various things, a lot of things, other than the fact that, other than talking about what you're currently doing, which I'm genuinely very excited about, like the power of venting out and how did you come up to that. But before that, let's start with maybe your journey. If you could maybe summarize in your own words about your journey, from what instigated you to start and where are you headed right now?
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess as you all know, I'm Himanshu. I'm the founder of the company Strangify. I started my first venture back when I was 13-year-old. My first company was called as Bookabuddy. It was a platform based on providing assistance to elderly and physically challenged people, in the sense of, let's say they need to go to hospital, bank, or something like that. So just like they book a cab on our platform, they can book a person who will pick them up, make them do their work, and drop them back. We were 5 co-founders back then, and we were serving around 1,000 customers on a weekly basis. We were scaling good. We were Thai Silicon Valley winner for that particular year, and we were one of the top 20 most creative ideas as well. But that time we had two options in front of us as 13-year-old 9th graders. Either you drop out from your education and go fully into it, either you go towards your education. I was fully convinced कि मुझे तो यही करना है, but my other co-founders were like, IT का exam आ रहा है, NEET का exam आ रहा है, JEE का exam आ रहा है, and all that. So unfortunately, we had to close that company. My other co-founders, some went into IT, Delhi, some became CA and all that. But I had that entrepreneurship wala कीड़ा in me, I would say, that मुझे यही करना है. So, and I also knew that no one is going to give a VC fund to 14-year-old. So for me, the priority was to get the experience first and then execute it at the very right time. Then I started my second venture called as SLSE. SLSE was a platform based on creating a very strong supply chain to distribute food wasted in restaurants and marriages to the needy people. So it was completely volunteer-led organization. I was leading a team of 30 volunteers, but the supply chain was so strong that we were able to deliver the food collected from the source within a duration of 17.5 minutes. It was a great learning lesson to us. The reason behind that is that we were convincing 5-star hotel GMs to give us the food. We were able to manage to get the food delivered on time. We had our exams, so we had to manage, I guess, managing, convincing, sales, marketing, बहुत सारी चीजें journey के बीच में सीखी. And then one person wanted to start a tier 2 food delivery platform, and he acquired our company at that time. So it was not a very big acquisition, but as a 14-year-old, if you made a good few 10-20 lakhs, so it is a good deal, I would say. So that was my second venture, which I started. It got acquired later on, along with my other co-founders. After that, COVID came into the picture eventually. I started my company called as Asathi. So Asathi was a startup based on creating awareness about mental health, women's safety, and women hygiene in tier 3 cities, towns, and villages. Like we at that it scaled very rapidly. We started off with online seminars, but eventually went into physical product distribution, sanitary pads, food, and all these things. It was going really good. I was leading an employee count of 40 people. And even today, I'm the youngest person in my company. My employees' average age is 35. Okay. So I was learning a lot of things. We were leading and we were impacting and all that was happening. And eventually this company also got acquired. So I guess the journey has been very full of learnings and and the ups and downs are always there, you can say, because as a founder your life is very unpredictable. अगले दिन क्या हो जाएगा किसी को नहीं पता. But उससे पहले की भी एक जर्नी है, थोड़ा कहते हैं ना बैक के अंदर. So before this थोड़ा सा ये थोड़ी ग्लैमरस जर्नी के पीछे की बैकलैश भी था जर्नी के अंदर. So I was diagnosed with some health issues when I was 12 and a half,
Oh,
and with no family history of it. And that time I was a sort of a nerd child. In the sense, if someone is mocking at me, I never knew how to reply back to that. It has a सीख जाता है eventually, but like today, if someone says to me कि चल चाय लेके आ, I can I have that immediate response कि हाँ मैं ला रहा हूँ, तू टेबल साफ कर पहले. But you learn. But that time I didn't have that sort of confidence on me. I was sort not a too bright student, but a disciplined one, I would say. So like health issues. I shifted to a new city. With bullying and all that things were happening, and I went into very severe depression. And
oh, age of 12.
at the age of 12 and a half, yeah. And it was to such an extent that I have a very like memory of those 6 months, like what happened. And then I met one person in a social event, we really catched up, and I ended up venting out all the stuff in my head to that person. मैंने अपनी सारी भड़ास निकाली, he listened to me, and that's where the idea of Strangify was born. In this journey, I guess it was a critical role play किया, that was self-talks. Like even today, the person who I talk the most during the day is me myself, and it helps me reflect back upon all the deeds which I have done so far and which I would be doing. I don't have any friends because I've been sort of a introverted kind of person who's very focused. I never recommend that to anyone. On a very serious note, I'm saying this thing: not having friends is a very bad thing. Like today, I don't have anyone to call to share my issues. सबके अपने दुख सुनने पड़ता है मुझे खाली. So
Right.
yeah, so that was a broad journey. बीच में लिखना और फिर बोलना का passion आया. Like earlier, I was not too good in English. It's obviously like we all have studied in English medium schools, but we never practiced speaking in English. In a sense, only objective of English is to score at least 80 out of 100 in our exams. So in that time when the bullying and all that phase was going on, there was this communication seminar going on in our school. So I just wanted to say ugly, and I was just confused and I was like ugly. Okay, and it was like 120 students sitting in a single ball, and everyone started laughing like हाँ, and he doesn't know. वो थोड़ा सा एक वो था कि थोड़ा depressive भी था, but I feel उसने काफी ज़्यादा motivate किया eventually to bounce back out of it and improve your communication skills. Eventually, I did improve a lot as well. I guess now I'm speaking in English with a lot of seminars as well, so it has improved. And psychology is like I run a mental health company. Psychology has been very prominent factor to me. Sociology and philosophy are something which I write a lot of different theories, and these are always true. Like these are very creative sort of theories that how the world works, how relationships work, and all that. So yeah, that has been my broad journey. Now talking about Strangify. Today, Strangify is one of the world's fastest growing mental health companies, where the main product which we offer is called as venting out, in which users can vent out things, have deep conversations, and share problems with people who have faced similar issues in the past. So let's say someone is having an issue with the manager, so they can find someone जिसने गालियां खाई हो मैनेजर की पहले, personal, professional, whatsoever issues they have, they can vent out along with other services like counseling, consulting, psychometric tests, yoga, meditation, and all that. So we always say that from morning yoga to night having a glass of beer and venting out, we take care of the complete cycle of emotional well-being. And yeah, so that's my journey. Changify, we have an internal employee count of 35 people, including a listener psychologist. Employee count goes around 250 to 300 people. And yeah, that's a broad journey about me.
Crazy. So basically, I would say that. So first thing, this idea of, let's say, venting. I've seen a lot of mental health, to be honest, and this is one of the most, I'd say, complicated industries to explore. So I've seen many startups in this particular space, many from the IIT founders and a lot of pedigrees from the bit. But the space is such that it's psychology. It's difficult to understand. So there's no right or wrong. But then the fact that it's quite innovative in how you've been able to navigate through in such a short time, it's quite commendable. And I think a lot of it, I would say, now that I have a backstory, would be driven out of the fact that you yourself have being a first time user of the need, like you've been able to identify maybe the product better than any of the other founders who might have tried. This is what I'm assuming. So I would assume that you are someone who is a customer yourself in sense of figuring out exactly what it is that is needed, and hence maybe you've been able to get through there better. Can I say that?
So I guess my previous companies were built, scaled, and sold within 1.5 year a month. But in
Okay.
this company, I spent 1.5 year doing the research. We have
Oh,
done our studies on over 50,000 people. And I guess during this journey, हमें काफी सारी चीजें समझ में आई, and we have been able to work on the pain points both from the user perspective as well as from the company perspective. So just to give you a small analysis on this market, you will see that there are a lot of mental health companies in the market today. I would not like to take the name, obviously, but not a single one has been able to raise bigger amount of funding. If not funding, then they have not been able to scale. And the most important issue which they're facing is high churn rates. Like, इसका reason churn rates का reason एक बहुत बड़ा है, that is taboo around mental health.
right.
लाइक आज भी हिंदुस्तान में अगर कोई साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाता है, लोग कहते हैं पागलों के डॉक्टर के पास जा रहा है. बट आई फील वी हैव बीन एबल टू एलिमिनेट ऑल दीज पेन पॉइंट्स बिकॉज इंट्रोड्यूसिंग अ प्लेटफॉर्म एज अ सोशल प्लेटफॉर्म where you can connect with people who have faced similar issues. So it removes the taboo around mental health and convince people to use it. And then eventually we can pave their way towards proper counseling services. During our research to venting out, we have seen up to 400% increase in efficiency in a single quarter as well.
It's quite unique. So, given the fact that, as you said, mental health is still considered a taboo, and this is something, especially in the current generation, let's say Gen Z, as we go further, is something that's been developing more further. So, let's say if I take a time frame, maybe if our grandparents even they won't even think about it. Our parents started maybe facing it, but they would not give importance to it. But now the generation recognizes that this is an actual issue and this actually affects your productivity. If I were to, let's say, put a metric of corporate success into it. So that's how I'm looking at it from a business perspective. Like if I want to get a customer, a corporate, then he won't care about mental health. He would do care about productivity though, right? So around that line, I would want to understand what was your first pitch like when you got, let's say, got your first customer to sign up for this product.
Okay. I feel ऐसा नहीं है कि डिप्रेशन पहले नहीं था, वो आ गया, या फिर इंसोम्निया पहले नहीं था, वो आ
Yeah,
गया.
of course. No one talked about it.
Yes, अब उस चीज को समझने के लिए इनको टर्म मिल गए हैं. पहले था कि जब तक आदमी में खुद के बाल ना नोचने लग जाए, आप डॉक्टर के पास नहीं जाएंगे. And now I feel कि people understand psychology is, or be going towards counseling or therapy is not just about facing mental health issues, but going toward therapy on a regular basis as well helps you a lot just to maintain your overall well-being. Right? And talking about the first pitch we are talking about, so there's a term called as PMF, the product market fit. So it means that your product, what the market wants as the demand and what your supply is as a product should be matching. Okay, so if we started off with a bit different model initially, like हमने एक ऐसा model introduce किया था जहाँ पे people can connect with people who are currently facing mental health issues.
Okay.
उसमें obviously एक बहुत बड़ा backlash जो आया था, people using it as a dating platform. Okay, in this sense, 98% of the people were using opposite gender people. Okay, so that's why to prevent that sort of things from happening, what we did was that we pivoted one more model कि ये काम नहीं कर रहा है, इसमें product concept लोग venting out कर रहे हैं, वो उनको पसंद आ रहा है, but they're not able to sort of create a safe community. So pivoted one more time, 2 times, and then we pivoted 3-4 times, and then finally this product was introduced. वह सबसे पहले क्या है कि user को there is a lot of fear of anonymity, that if the other person knows my identity, my information or my secrets might get leaked. That's why we made the user 100% anonymous. After that, second fear is that I don't want to go to a psychologist. I'm not facing mental health issues. So we introduced a social platform and removed the taboo. And that's why it made us, it made it very convenient for us to reach out to the user and make them use the product. And I feel luckily now people have been getting more and more open, and our pilots are, I guess, pretty amazing. So freaky cheese recipe. Indians love it. So yeah, that has
So
been.
how, like, where did we start? Is it like a direct to consumer product, or is it direct to corporate product?
So during the very starting of it, we started off during the pilot. We were the B2C model where we had our people working whose their role was to reach out to new people and give the product that demo and all that. But obviously, like B2B is an easier market to crack in India and a cost efficient one. CAC for B2B, B2C mental health companies are very high. That's why in India we have B2B only. But now, as I mentioned, we are establishing our global footprints in Dubai and Singapore in this upcoming quarter. So there we will be launching both B2B and B2C.
Right. So at this point, let's say currently you're serving Indian markets predominantly.
Our biggest client though is a Hong Kong-based company, but
Okay.
other than that we have most of our clients in India
And all of them are corporate right now, so it's not open to direct customers.
right now. It is.
Okay. So I think there's one parallel that I could draw with one of the companies. You know about Hood?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's also like again, it's not as developed as your product, but then from textual point, bringing anonymity, closing, creating a group, and then you can vent out whatever you want in terms of text without any without any, let's say, identity being revealed. So is it similar in any sense?
Okay, so I will tell you how the Hood app works. So basically, most of these apps are community-based platforms. Okay,
Right.
there's a company called as Now and Me. So community-based में क्या होगा? I will tell you this. I'm sorry, I just took the name, but I'm just gonna
Okay.
tell the name. Okay. So in a lot of community-based mental health apps, what happens is a lot of people put their stories. Like there was this girl, like she wrote an actual story, like what emotional that like how was one very torturous and like they were very toxic relationship and all that. People were mentioning their numbers. Call me tonight on this story.
Can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a very serious note, I'm saying
Yeah.
that is a very major issue with community-based platforms. But on our platform, these listeners are very highly trained professionals.
Right.
Just to give you a reference, we interviewed 5,000 people to choose 200 listeners on the platform. Okay, our acceptance rate is 4%. Harvard's acceptance rate is 9. We are even harder to crack.
So someone can apply to become a listener, is it?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So how does it work? Like, is there a qualification requirement or?
So basically, most of people have work as a part-time job on the platform. Where where the main product, I mean, for that they can apply on the website. The minimum criteria that they should be 23.5 years old. They should have worked in corporate for at least 2.5 to 3 years, so that they can create the sense of relatability when a person is venting out, and they should be great in communication skills. There is a half an hour to 45 minute 1 hour interview which goes on just to feel that whether this person is the right fit for the company or not. And they get paid for that. We are, as a mental health company, like talking about a unit economics perspective, today we have the highest gross margins in the industry. Like the industry standards are like 30-35%. We are sitting at a minimum gross margin of 75%, while being the most cost efficient company. The reason behind that is that we have been able to crack the core of mental health and how it works, I think.
Right. So if we can talk about it, like what is the unit economics directly? So you go to the corporate and per counseling session, they pay you a fixed amount. How does it work?
So basically, we work on a subscription-based model where we charge on a get per employer per month basis, bill quarterly. That's how we work.
Okay. Got it. Right. So is it like, just to understand maybe the market better, does the Indian company give you the same reception as, let's say, you said Hong Kong's company is currently your biggest market? How is it comparing currently Indian market and let's say any other country?
Our sweet spot from the employer count perspective is the employer count of 200 to 2,500 employees. The reason behind that is companies below 200 employee count are not too willing to spend a lot of money, and companies above that are not too intent towards outsourcing the mental platform. They are their in-house systems. So right now our sweet spot lies in that. But once we have penetrated this market fully, then obviously we can also target bigger and smaller companies. Talking about the Indian market, and in Indian market scalability is there, but that is to a certain extent. Above that, if you want to sell a product, you will have to teach the people first and then sell the product. And that reduces the ROI to us. That's scaling in Indian market, but we also know that certain limit तक ही हम scale कर पाएंगे. But if you want to grow and increase the recurring revenues and all that, we will have to go global, and that's what we are doing right now.
Right. Nice, nice, nice. Cool. I think I'll go back towards, let's say, your journey then. We've talked about Strangify to some extent. I want to understand, let's say, coming out of that shell of, let's say, a child who's being bullied to standing out of the entire herd in a school, let's say at the age of 13, starting your own venture. So basically a drastic change in terms of, let's say, the type of life you would have as a student and as an entrepreneur, like a complete different journey. What triggered you to do that, and was it a business need or was it an emotional need that triggered you to start a business, maybe to get out of that environment?
Zach Bezos said it's very beautiful line that you don't choose your passion chooses you. So I guess startups came to me. I didn't went to startup. So my school's director was part of this company called as TIE. TIE is a very one of world's biggest entrepreneurial organizations.
Okay.
So they hosted this competition called as TYE, where they wanted young people to start new ventures and all that. And I was randomly selected for it.
Okay.
I didn't have any personal relations with my school director, something like that. I was selected randomly, and then the startup journey started. I guess it was very motivating journey because we were from sitting alone to speaking in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, giving pitching and getting that appreciation. That was a very major motivation source of motivation because they were appreciating, and the person who was never getting appreciated for the last 6 7 months are like getting away from it. That helps me a lot to pave my way towards entrepreneurship. And I feel that when I start here, the problem solving, connecting with people, and then exploring new things was, I guess, was the main thing. कि वो click हो गया कि करना really करना है. We have 5 co-founders. I am the only one who has been in this field. I feel that sort of click was the source that helped us do that.
Right. And did it maybe help you, did this journey maybe help you get out of that depression phase that you were going through?
Absolutely. I guess this is the only reason I've been able to come out from that. I guess I feel like startup changed my life. So life is startup is life. That has been the journey after that.
Right. So one more thing. So since how did your like parents perceive it? So I understand that in India, especially, education is very very important, or especially from a parent's perspective, they really want you to study before doing anything else. They keep you in a protected environment. So how did your parents take this journey?
I guess trust was built over time. They have seen me work hard for 4 years, and then the trust was built. That has been, helping me eventually. And I just want to add one more point. Knowledge is very different from education. I never recommend to people to drop out. Never and ever. I have these many books, like hundreds of books are lying over there, and I read them every day. So I feel knowledge was more important to me, but dropping out is not a good option, guys. Don't think about that.
And how did you like again, similar to the previous question, how did you come to this decision? Like it's quite like high school dropout is a major decision. I mean, you still find, let's say, people dropping out after they have a footing in their graduation, but a high school dropout is like it's very hard to see anyone doing that.
Absolutely. I feel I have been able to do that, maybe dropping out because of the conviction I had, but it was not easy, to be honest. I also got some sleepless nights initially.
Right, right, right. And the entire journey has been from Jaipur, is it?
No, I shifted to Jaipur 1 year back. Before that, I was living out of Jaipur.
Okay, right, right, right. Cool. Okay, one question that comes to my mind, considering the fact that you've been so young when you started out and you are so young, how have you been able to like get your co-founders?
I am the solo founder of the company. My last company was solo
Okay.
founder. My previous organizations, my co-founders were of my age only. But
Okay.
in this company, I feel I'm the youngest employee. My head of sales is 45, regional head of sales is 39, my CPO is 30 or something like that. So I feel knowledge is more important. If you have the right knowledge, people are going to work for you. And I also very strongly believe that your confidence speaks more than your words. आज मैं आपको झूठ भी बोलूँ ना बहुत कॉन्फिडेंस है आप मान लेते हो चीज को
Right.
confidence is really important and followed on by right knowledge. So there are, if you want to stand out of the crowd, there are two factors to it. First is storytelling and second is knowledge. अब वो बोलना अच्छा होना चाहिए but जो आप बोल रहे हो वो भी अच्छा होना चाहिए. For that knowledge is required. I always say this thing that opportunities and exposure doesn't come by itself. You have to work hard to grab them. No one would just किसी ने मेरे को दिए नहीं थे startup के idea या फिर startup execute करने के लिए. It takes sleepless nights to execute these ideas, and it is on you how to implement them. There have been days, Aman, where I've worked like I live on the 8th floor. Okay, there have been days where I've not stepped down on the ground floor for 15 days, working 18 hours a day. And when you step on, this feels like I never recommend that because it is very bad on your health. I myself have faced the consequences, but I feel hard work is really important. लोग कहते हैं कि hard work अलग है, smart work करो and all that. मैंने उसका एक छोटा सा anecdote निकाला था कि hard work के समुद्र में smart work की गंगा पाओगे तभी शुद्धिकरण होने वाला है. That is the only way, best way possible.
Yeah. Nice. So, Himanshu, again, extending probably on the same one. So, again, switching from one company to another, and at this age, how, like, whenever you go to get a client majorly, how is it, like, how does this conversation go out? Like, how do you ensure, you said confidence is a point, but then there has been a perception in India, especially, I'm sure it is changing, but there's still a big perception that people confuse experience with age. So, of course, once you are there, once you're in the zone, things change. Like, then it is about making a point or convincing them. But before that, like, that it's one thing to convert someone and it's one thing to make them listen. So you cannot open a closed ear, right? How do you manage to do that? That's something that's been like.
Yeah, I feel I mean the biggest drawback of being young is people appreciate you a lot but never trust in you.
Correct.
In the sense, सर ये काम कर रहे हैं, अरे अरे बहुत ही अच्छा बेटा, बहुत प्राउड है, ये है वो है, ये मदद चाहिए थी, अच्छा हाँ देखते हैं आपको बताएंगे. That is obviously a very big thing, but I guess once you show the results and you have the right stats and things to back you and prove you, then eventually these things reduces. Now today, no one can say, okay, you are younger, so we can't fund you or whatsoever it is. And I feel experience is not about the seconds spent on this planet, but experience gained.
Right. Cool. So from that perspective, since you have, let's say, 4 startups, 4 successful ventures under your belt, what would you say, like, what can be those 4 things that you need, like, there cannot be a compromise on, basically, when you are building out?
I feel compromise should be not on the mindset, because there was this thing written in this. I was reading this book very recently. Attitude is everything. And there was this thing written that you are not what you think you are. You are what you think you are. अब जो सोचते हैं वो आप होते हैं. So mindset is really important. I feel having the right idea is also important. Testing the idea. Because कई बार we just try building a product that we feel there is a big demand on, but असली में demand है ही नहीं. So finding the right idea is also important. Testing the product and then having the right team with you and having the right skill set. All these things are really important. I feel ये सब चीजें हो जाएगी, but at the end the core is having the right consistent motivation. वो डोपामिन की तरह होना चाहिए. एक दिन आपको बहुत जोश आया, आपने डोमेन खरीद लिया, अगले दिन आप भूल गए स्टार्ट के बारे में. Consistently executing things is the key. Execution is the most important factor in anything, like whether it's studying, whether it's running a startup, whether it's doing a great job. Because you will see, I will tell you, for example, there were just 2 employees, both were of same age. एक पढ़ाई में थोड़ा कम अच्छा था, एक बहुत अच्छा था. बहुत अच्छा था, उसका पैकेज 90 लाख का लगा, जो कम अच्छा था उसका 30 लाख का लगा, सेम कंपनी में. But 5 years down the line, कम अच्छा वाला was getting a package of 3 crores, while the very good one was getting a package of 1.5 crores. Because execution is the right mindset. Because it is not important to run a startup, but आप जिस company में काम कर रहे हैं, when you can be an entrepreneur, where you are executing new ideas into the company which you are working in, and that is obviously going to help you. And be confident about what you're doing and be practical about what you're doing. Your approach is really important.
So I think following on this one, so let's say when you have 2 CVs in front of you, given again, I'd say driving from the fact that you are a young entrepreneur and you are handling a team who's way senior to you in terms of experience per se, how, like, what is it that you look for to make a decision about which person is suitable for a role or which person is not?
I feel firstly like CV अगर दोनों लोगों की बिल्कुल अच्छी है, then I'm gonna judge in the interview, like who's good in presenting themselves. Because किताब लिखना और किताब समझाना बहुत अलग चीज है. आज
Hmm.
के टाइम को किताब लिखना अच्छे से आता हो या ना आता हो, किताब समझना बहुत अच्छे से आना चाहिए. The
Hmm.
actions which are doing, the words which you're speaking, that should be very clear and confident. I feel because especially you will see any job role, whether it's account, finance, sales, marketing, operation, whatsoever it is, when you filter the most important role, that is doing the sales. Whether it's selling a product or whether it's selling yourself or the company or the accounts. Accountant भी आपके पास आएगा तो he's gonna sell that these are going to profits. He's gonna present themselves. Selling is presenting, right? So that at the end, how well they present themselves, that is one of the most important determining factor whether I'm choosing someone or not.
So is there like a maybe criteria of some sort? So let's say, is he hitting this particular point? So the reason I'll tell you why I'm asking this is that oftentimes what we see is that a person may be having a bad day, but there's, let's say, I personally would look for humility when I'm probably trying to get answers. So there's always something that you're looking for, right? Even after everything said and done, there's always something in your mind that you want, यार ये अगर ऐसा कुछ बोल दे.
I feel in my interviews, I never ask sort of very technical questions when I take an
Hmm.
interview. I always ask philosophical questions. The reason behind that is I feel that the more, अगर बंदे का mindset सही है and he
Hmm.
doesn't have the right skills, he is going to acquire that. But if he has a great amount of knowledge but not the right mindset, gain skills can't be executed. I feel the creativity, the how diplomatic the person is, that I really look into because being diplomatic in today's world is really important.
Right. Right. Maybe more so in your case, given the fact that it's quite a client-facing work, being diplomatic is more important than anything else.
And I don't think there's there's not anything wrong in it.
Yeah, of course. I think so. I'm not sure if you've ever attended MUN's Model United Nations.
Yeah, I have one.
I personally am a fan of it, not because of the networking or anything, but just because of the exposure that you get of feeling that you are a delegate of a country or a high, like representing a higher stake organization than yourself. So basically, realizing that you are bigger than the institute. The institute is bigger than yourself.
Hmm.
So that is something that I personally like. When you said diplomatic, is what I perceive of diplomacy, like understanding that you're representing someone. So ensuring that comes out. Cool. Himanshu, I think since the domain that you are in, I would say you are one of India's, like, from the startup perspective, one of the leading mental health startups currently. We have a student. We have students who from first year to third year who, because are pursuing a very academically heavy curriculum, they basically goes through a lot of things. It can be related to academics, relations, moving out, living in a different city, living alone. They face personally a lot of things that uh, usually still maybe not able to share with their peers, or let alone the faculty or the counselors. What is it that you think they can do to maybe overcome these issues?
I feel if they are still facing the issues, being open towards therapy is a really important thing, I would say, because it gives you very safe space to share your feelings out. Having good people who you can vent out without having that filter of status or judgment, that's really important because वहाँ पे अपने सारे real emotions निकाल सकते हो. So I feel these two things are really important. Then self-reflection is a really important task, I guess. Maybe डायरी हो गया, आप खुद से बात कर रहे हो, maybe whatsoever it is, but I guess spending some time with yourself and just taking small break, I would say sometimes. कि आप बहुत तेज भाग रहे हैं, but आप थोड़ा 2 कदम पीछे लेके एक लंबी छलांग मारेंगे, उससे तेज भाग पाएंगे आप. And just taking that sort of 2 steps backward and then taking a long jump is also important sometimes.
Yeah, I think yes, having maybe a longer vision. Usually, जब time frame छोटा होता है तो tension भी ज़्यादा होती है. Like if we increase the time horizon, like if we are comfortable stepping back, then we'll be able to jump forward. I
And,
think that's well said.
and if someone is willing to treat me with a vada pav, I will become their distinct partner. That is not an issue.
Right. Cool. Himanshu, didn't realize it's already been 35 minutes. I'll quickly wrap up with a couple of more questions related to directly addressing the students. So, as I told you, we run an academically higher cohort. So, students who pursue professional education. Coming towards entrepreneurship per se, how do you like, how would you evaluate a person choosing to maybe get into entrepreneurship or sticking to a traditional route of doing a job and excelling there?
आई फील कोई भी चीज फोमो में नहीं करनी चाहिए यार ये सब स्टार्टअप कर रहे हैं मैं भी करूंगा एंड ऑल दैट इफ यू हैव द राइट कन्विक्शन इफ यू हैव द राइट माइंडसेट देन if you are willing to take that bet because it's a very risky game on a very serious note it's a very risky game so अगर आप में सही कन्विक्शन आप प्लीज डू द स्टार्टअप्स बट इफ यू फील लाइक ये सब कर रहे हैं इसलिए मैं करूं दैट इज नॉट द राइट वे अब पैसा कमाना है सबको कमाना है पैसा दैट कैन बी राइट रीजन बट सिर्फ पैसा कमाने से आप स्टार्टअप कर रहे हो तो आपका स्टार्टअप चल नहीं पाएगा यू हैव द राइट विजन एंड कन्विक्शन राइट आइडिया टू सॉल्व इट एंड इफ यू आर डूइंग द जॉब इट्स ग्रेट इफ यू आर डूइंग द जॉब अगर आप बहुत अच्छे से काम करेंगे यू कैन अर्न मोर देन एनी स्टार्टअप फाउंडर इन दिस वर्ल्ड फॉर एग्जांपल सुंदर पिचाई ही इज आल्सो एम्प्लॉय नॉट अ फाउंडर बट his yearly income is more than most of the startup founders companies valuations.
Right. Cool. Cool. So I'll have one more question before we wrap. So since you been a TEDx speaker, you meet a number of investors, go to pitches, and network with a lot of people. According to you, where do you see India moving ahead, and which are the sectors that we should watch out for? So personally, mental health was one space that I was really excited about. I was actually waiting for someone to come up with a, let's say, a profitable business model which actually works, because I've seen so many mental health startups, but every other startup tries to solve an issue which is very complicated and somewhere loses the motivation to keep holding. So where, according to you, like, what are the things that you are excited for basically?
I feel India as a market is booming. In fact, like I was talking to some of the VCs, like a lot of firms have stopped investing in US and they have shifted their complete teams to India to invest because of 0% chance of recession in the country. So that is the reason I feel India is a very booming market. And a lot of domains are there, like mental health, climate tech, health tech, human consciousness, human connectedness, especially AI and generative AI. These are very booming industries. We are also entering into some of them and trying to tap into these markets. I think all of these industries are booming. Potential हर जगह है, बस आपको सही से ढूंढना और execute करना है.
Right. Perfect. I think yes. Usually ideas नए नहीं होते, execution better होता है.
हाँ बिल्कुल. Like मैं पहला आदमी नहीं हूँ जिसने idea सोचा. You will not believe. At least every 2 out of 10 people I meet say हमारे पास same idea था, बस execute नहीं कर पाए. So I feel execution is the key and most important task at the end of the day.
Right. Perfect. Cool. Himanshu, it's been great talking to you. I didn't realize that we're already past 12 and it's already 12:10. So I'd call it a wrap. Again, thank you so much for having like coming here, you and starting the entire series. So again,
Thank
I'm
you so
sure
much.
that the students would have been able to relate to you better than anyone else. That was the entire point. So absolutely
Yeah.
honored.
And in fact, I feel I'm of the very same age of all these guys. So I guess if I can do like so they can. ऐसा like मेरे कुछ खास थे नहीं like सेंटर गार्डन में so कि मैंने कर लिया ये नहीं कर पाएंगे. It's like we should have the right mindset and conviction and we can do anything we want.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you so much, Himanshu. With that note, we'll call it a wrap for the first podcast of the. Yeah. Thank you.